Alright, it's freezing. Alright, that's why that's blowing. Anyway, computer science. What did I learn today? What were the new concepts, new topics? We covered dictionary nesting and dictionary iteration. So the view objects for dictionaries that are often used for for loops are dictionary.items, dictionary.keys, dictionary.values. Dictionary.items returns a list of tuples, and others, I just believe, return lists. I learned a concept of trailing commas within containers. My professor, he prefers to have trailing commas after the last item in a container, just simply to have and be ready for the next. Item in the container. And also pop, the default argument, I totally forgot this, I don't even remember learning it, but pop, the default argument is -1. So let me check to make sure that was everything, but I believe so. Yep, that's everything. So I'll be back later to learn more and continue with computer science. Talk to you then. Welcome back to computer science. Yesterday I just did recall, so there's no new information to recall right now. So what I'm going to do is jump back in, continue learning. I'll be back to recall what I learned in a little bit. All right. Nice. So I finished that unit on file writing. Basically, first thing was how you specify buffers. So the line default is the default. Line buffer is the default buffer, but you can actually toggle buffer on and off as a third argument when you open up a file. So as a third argument, you can say buffer equals 0, that will turn buffer off. Buffer equals 1, we'll keep it on line default, buffer default. And then anything greater than 1 will specify the number of bytes you want your output buffer to be. And so flushing this output buffer, again, it's when the buffer reaches its limit, like if it's a line or it's a certain number of bytes, it will flush. Or you can manually force the output buffer to flush by using the flush method. Some operating systems require you to also follow that up with os.fsync. And also, when you close a file, the output buffer is automatically flushed. So, all right, I think that's basically it. It wasn't buffer, it was buffering is the argument. When opening a file, you can pass a third argument to specify buffer. Buffering equals 0 is buffering is off. Buffering equals 1, default line buffering. If greater than 1 specifies number of bytes for the output buffer. Flushing, file.flush. This method forces the interpreter to flush the output buffer. OS fsync may have to be called on some operating systems with flush to flush. And then close. When a file is closed, the output buffer is flushed. Pretty good. I finished a program project, short one, in which, what was it? It took basically a string of name, comma, like it has name, comma, phone number, space, name, comma, phone number, like a string of name and phone numbers, and basically converted that into a dictionary, and then took a name input and output the phone number. Now I'm working on a car wash program in which takes 2 additional service inputs, which these additional services are in a dictionary with their price, and then it's going to output what you ordered with the base car wash price being $10 plus the 2 additional services, and then outputs what you ordered as well as the total price, so like a receipt. So that's it for now. I should be back later today to continue on this program. So that's it for now. Talk to you later. Welcome back to computer science. So earlier we were working with buffering, flush, and file writing, and now what I'm going to do is go ahead and continue working in some of these dictionary and list sorting programs. All right, talk to you in a bit. All right, so no new notes, but I finished up the final programs. One of them was that car wash one I was describing earlier. The second or the last program was basically taking an input of numbers or a string of numbers, split it into a list, then filter that list by basically pulling out the negative numbers and then sorting that list of negative numbers into descending order. Then what I went ahead, once I finished up the programs, I went ahead and checked my grade for quiz 4. I actually missed 2 points, and they were multiple choice, and it was just, little things that good learning opportunities. First was basically, I didn't get tripped up. I thought I found what I was looking for, but it was actually a step deeper. It was basically like you assign a variable a value, and then you call a function in which that function assigns a variable the same name, a new value, and then it prints then back outside of the function. At the end of the program, it prints that variable, and I was like, oh, that's a local variable. It's not the same variable, so the variable name isn't going to change. But in reality, they assigned the return value of the function, and the return value of the function was a void function, so it returned none. So what was printed was none, not the original value of the variable. And then the second thing was basically a thing to remember is that when you're using default and keyword parameters, that the default parameters must come before the keyword parameters. So default before keyword, both in parameters and arguments. If not, if the keyword parameters or arguments come before the default, it's going to throw a syntax error, and that's something I missed. I also talked to my professor. We can use the ID in the book for the quizzes. That's totally fine. So now that I know that, I should rip basically a perfect score for the final exam, which is just about 2 weeks away. We don't actually have it. It's not really cumulative. It's cumulative, but it's not explicitly cumulative. It's implicitly cumulative. It's quiz 5, and that will be the final. And about 2 weeks left of this class. Somehow, we're pretty much done, which I just was like, oh, wait, what? Oh, we're done. There's one more lecture to do as far as notes and reading goes. We're 27 out of 28, and this is the smallest lecture I think we've had. So, wow, we're pretty much done. So, probably a lot of practice problems to come up with the remaining time. There's also an optional Python for data science lecture that's pretty long. I will probably do that one as well. But yeah, that's it for now. Talk to you tomorrow. See ya.